Good afternoon, everyone. And sorry, first of all, for the delay. This is my very first Facebook Live event, and I'm excited to be representing Brio Integrative Health Center today in this episode where I will be talking about mind-body medicine. This is supposed to be an introduction to the topic, something that is very near and dear to me. And I will go and touch on the biology of belief and also something known as the Positivo effect. So just as we wait for more people to join, I encourage you to like this video to let me know that you're here with me, and also to consider hosting a watch party and share it around with anyone that you may feel or think could make use of the content. These videos are a way for our clinic to serve our community in this time of difficulty. During this event, I hope to disentangle the differences between thoughts and feelings, so that's cognition and emotion. And the reason for this is that whenever we hear something, we tend to jump automatically to a thought, an opinion. And I want to stop this from automatically happening because it doesn't always serve the highest needs. A little more about this. Feelings present problems, and these are needs or demands upon the mind to work. That's what thinking is. The work of the mind is thinking. Thoughts are ways to deal with feelings. And I want everyone to try to, instead of rationalizing our feelings, which is often what we're comfortable with doing, how about feeling them? And I have some ways today that will help us make the shift from automatically thinking to feeling, which usually gets us a lot further when we're problem solving. So there's a lot of talk about mindfulness today, increasing popularity of meditation, just, even the saying like, oh, tell me what's on your mind, just increasing awareness of what is really present for us. So mindfulness is where everything starts. And how we can do this, cultivate mindfulness, is increasing awareness of sensations in and around our body, and in particular, our breathing patterns. Like the heart's rhythm and rate, which we tend to put a lot more attention on, like when we feel palpitations or fluttering, perhaps skipped beats, the same processes happen with our lungs and diaphragm when we breathe. Consider right now, as you're sitting here, what is your body doing? Is your breathing deep? Is it shallow? Is your breath catching? What about the speed? Is it rapid? Slow? Are you feeling relaxed? Is it happening easily? Or is it forceful? Perhaps there's a sigh or yawning. All of this gives us information. For example, I noticed at the beginning of this broadcast, fiddling with this new technology, to me, everything was really revved up. And now, as I get into the groove, my voice is a lot steadier, and that's supported by greater lung capacity as everything just relaxes and allows me to take in more breath and life. I'm noticing that I can feel my sit bones in this chair settling and feeling the support of the cushion. My shoulders. Just by increasing consciousness of my posture, I feel everything is just working a lot better. So everyone now that's watching, no matter where you are, how about let's just do a few gentle shoulder rolls together. And imagine that there's a juicy orange or lemon between your scapula, your shoulder blades, and just give it a nice squeeze. And relax. That feels better. So to continue, after we've encouraged or created space for our bodies to really feel the breath and the aliveness that fresh oxygen brings, also notice how it changes your mood potentially. Just doing those simple exercises with you just there, I noticed that, again, it's hard to go back into engaging when I had that feeling of being in my own bubble, in my boundary where I felt really comfortable. And even though I can't see you, I have this little meter on the top corner of my screen that indicates, who might be out there gazing back at me, who I can't see. The screen provides a really solid boundary, almost a wall of protection for me. And this is further enhanced by the room that I'm situated in right now, with a door and a window that I can control. But it's really different when there's someone in front of us in the flesh. We are energetic beings and we feed off each other. And this is mediated by this boundary, this energetic orb, for better lack of a word, that we can feel when we get in touch with ourselves. When we allow our breaths to guide us and feel that space. So something that I study outside of naturopathic medicine is something called integrative body psychotherapy. And I started doing this in my second year of naturopathic school. And it really dovetails well with naturopathic medicine because it's a really comprehensive way of looking at human health. So integrative is used commonly when it comes to alternative and holistic medicine. But in practice, that doesn't always come through. So like naturopathic medicine, it cultivates our own innate resources to optimize health and well-being. And so it's saying that within ourselves, we have the capability for healing that all comes from nature. And it integrates the physical, emotional, and spiritual aspects of the person in this process. Oftentimes, with mind-body medicine, the parts, so we have the mind, the thinking, and the body. So the physical experiences, often pain. Pain is what draws our attention to our body because we're always in our mind, more or less. Is that it recognizes that you can't treat one without the other. For example, when people talk about having butterflies in their stomach, we know they're not there, but it seems really real when we're feeling anxiety or nervousness, that there's this sensation. And energy is just, emotions are just energy in motion. So those butterflies, it may be easy to compare it to them, but what's probably better is if we actually notice and try to put words to these feelings. So it could be a soft fluttering, a gust, softness, unsettling, just whatever comes to mind for you. Just to notice it's there and how it's affecting you in the moment. Also, so that's, okay, so that example is one. And then another is when physical pain turns into a negative emotion. Often we've heard that chronic pain can lead to depression over time. And it's one of those chicken or egg scenarios where what causes, who came first? I'm just going to take a sip here. So I'm jumping around, just trying to organize my thoughts as we go, just to make sure I cover everything that I promised. I'm now just going to turn the page and talk about the biology of belief. So this term was popularized by Bruce Lipton. He authored a book by the same name. And it's essentially saying that if you believe something is good for you, then that's the effect it'll have. Whereas if you believe something that you put into your body, like a certain food, for example, is going to do harm, then it'll probably do that regardless of the contents, just by the way that we think about it. So right now, it's hard not to talk about the global health crisis, the pandemic that's COVID-19. And yes, many of us are grappling feelings of fear and scared for the future, and wondering when will this end. So the stress of being in this fear state, whether it's conscious or not, has a physiological effect on us. And that state of contraction and dread is responsible for 90% of illness, especially chronic lifestyle disease, those very comorbidities, like we've heard, hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, those types of things that increase the risk of fatality when someone unfortunately does get infected with the coronavirus. The stress hormone, cortisol, shuts down our immune system. And this is a biological response. It's a way for the body to conserve energy in life or death situations. And it's there as a safety measure. There was a time when we faced potentially fatal situations every day. before civilization, without regular access to shelter, food, water, running away from saber-toothed tigers and the like, where this served us really well. But now, in modern life, having this response triggered constantly does more harm than good. People like Bruce Lipton are out there saying things like the fear of COVID-19 is actually more harmful than the virus itself. And you can make your own opinion about this. But there's no denying that the increased stress that everyone is feeling from the nonstop headlines is aggravating the situation. And so I want to move now to something called the Positivo effect. This is a term coined by one of my teachers, an ND and Bowen teacher named Manon Bollinger. She's kind of funny, and this is her own version of the whole placebo and nocebo. So just so everyone is on the same page, a placebo is a substance that has no measurable medical effect, yet it may improve your symptoms or make you feel better. And like Dr. Lipton says, this is largely because you believe that it will have a positive effect. The opposite of a placebo is a nocebo. And that's when a placebo makes you feel worse. This often happens if you have negative expectations. As I've been studying for my pharmacy license, I noticed I just learned something kind of interesting in that medical doctors sometimes prescribe placebos. And on the script, on the paper, patients will see something like Obeclap, OBECLAP, and that's actually just placebo spelled backwards. Another one that's used is Sebaclap. So there is, while they might be selling you a sugar pill, there actually might be something to this positive thinking that, if it ultimately does you good, regardless of what's in it, is it not medicine? Is it not healing? Another thing along the lines of the Positivo effect is something called the positivity effect. And this is an ability to constructively analyze a situation where a desired result or outcome was not achieved. But openness to the possibility that positive feedback, learnings essentially, can still be obtained that assist future growth, development, and progression. Our habits and characteristics inform behaviors. And I truly believe that our inherent disposition is to be positive, that we are all born as optimists, glass half full type of people. But situations and circumstances surrounding us can cause negative behaviors and adaptations. Sometimes this is temporary, while other times it shifts our said disposition towards the pessimistic range. Despite what's happening in the media right now, research shows that social media users prefer to spread positivity and engage with others who are more prone to share current events or personal news that are positive in nature. Could be something as simple as a funny video or photo or joke. In fact, human beings are twice as responsive to positive news, and this is speaking emotionally, than negative ones. I always thought it was funny in school when we did this activity called Two Thorns in a Rose. And for those who aren't familiar, it's a way of sharing, like an icebreaker, where you share two thorns, so that's two negative things that have happened, and a rose, which is something positive, something happy, something that you're excited about. I always thought it should be the opposite, based on that fact that I just shared, that positive experiences affect us twice as much. Actually, the ratios might work out then. The math in my head is appearing differently now. Anyhow, while that may be the case, I just remember, and I think what patients tell me too, is when you hear a put down or negative feedback, that lasts with you for days, longer, weeks. Sometimes you might think about it before you fall asleep. That the smallest negative things can really create a mess in our life. So no one can ever have enough positive, authentic, positive feedback. I, for one, am really inspired by what's happening in the news, the break from the fear-mongering type of broadcasts to lighter but still necessary news, shining a light on things like what's happening in Spain with the nightly applause for doctors and nurses for their dedication to their work and healing, and what's happening in Italy with the music making on the balconies. There's even a chart, a top 5 chart right now of balcony music in that country. Seeing the resilience of other ordinary people in much worse situations than we're facing in Canada has raised my spirits. And I hope that it really allows us all to stay more open physically and open to receiving good news. The more positive people are, the more people will like you, because being around you makes them feel good. This is no different than on social media with so-called likes that you can offer as approval. And with that, I would again remind you to please like me if you're still watching this. Thank you very much for those who have commented and shown your support. I deeply appreciate that. And if you're interested in more content like this, stay tuned every day at 4 o'clock for a new broadcast from one of our naturopathic doctors. If you'd like to hear more from me, you can look at some blog articles that I've shared on yourbriohealth.ca. And I'll be back here again in about a week's time, where I'll be talking about therapeutic breathing techniques for relaxation and energy. Some food for thought. The difference between excitement and anxiety is simply in the way that you breathe. I'd like to remind you that the Brio team will be available throughout the closure via telemedicine, and you can book with any of our doctors from Tuesday to Thursday, 9 to 3, and the occasional Saturday. At least I know for myself, I'm offering Saturdays. And how the telemedicine works, if you've never tried it, is that we have a secure video call or phone call and mail out remedies and treatment plans afterwards. There's also the possibility of picking it up if you live close by from the clinic that is still open during those limited hours. Just while I still have a bit of an audience, I just wanted to mention two things. And for those of you who are feeling healthy and well and have to make a trip out, why not bundle it with an appointment at the blood bank? I know I'm putting that on my schedule the next time I have to go out to get some fresh food, as they've really seen a drop in donations, and the need for blood supply is still high due to the cancellation in clinics around the community, as people are still needing life-saving surgeries and ongoing cancer treatments. And also when you're out getting something for yourself, considering picking up something extra for your local food bank. As much as we are feeling scarcity, they are feeling it even more. These food banks and nonprofits are supporting essential services to the most vulnerable, and they don't have the option to work from home or close down. So that's all I wanted to say for today, and thank you very much for staying with me, and I look forward to being with you again here in a week's time. Bye for now.